10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Turn the friggin' frogs gay. Serious crap.
Well, hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How you guys doing today? Hola, ¿cómo estás? What's up? Oh, I don't have my background music. I gotta get some of that Leo background music today. But we go with something crazy. Oh, I like this background music. This is straight up Leo. From his Grotesque Beats channel. Of course, let me turn it down a little bit. What's up? How's everybody doing today? Oh, let me grab, hold on. Give me a second here. On my trigger time chats, I like to put my feet up. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How you guys doing? Welcome to the clusterfuck. Look over at this screen today so I can see your guys' comments whilst I put my feet up. Yes, Mr. Scary, that's Hellfire. I like that song. Now I can't hear it anymore. What? Did it shut off? Can y'all still hear it? I can't hear it anymore. Turn it up a little bit. Tell me if that's too loud, because I have no concept of like how loud it is, because it's always going to be louder for you guys than it is for me. So I just turned it up some. Tell me if that's too loud. I'll turn it back down. I really want to show you guys this freaking gun that I've got, but I can't on YouTube. And it sucks. The one that I just redid. I mean, it's just a 22. You know what I mean? But it came out really nice. Really nice. And yes, Practical Bacon, it is kind of GoldenEye-esque, this music. So. You are right. Who's here today? Let's do a roll call. Everybody remembers how roll call works. If you don't say anything in chat, I don't know you're here. All right, we got Anthony Roberts, we got Vulcan Rumble, Lead Laces here, None Your Business. We got Timothy Butts, Tomcat, Old Man Butt Wrinkles, Trash Panda, Lost Husky. Oh no. Let's see who else is out there. Mr. Mike, Mr. Scary, Dino Spumoni, Vince Ruffalo. We got Practical Bacon, Colonel Angus. Can I call you Colonel Anus? It sounds more fun that way. Manuel Fernandez, Martin Bissig, we got Randy Butternubs, Davey Jones, MSB 9021. How are things in Alabama, by the way, MSB? Paul Senior, Hoononymous, Tomcat. Did I already say Tomcat? Well, if I did, I said it again. Let's see. Oh, we got a member super chat from Stephen Carroll. Says, had to go on vacation to finally see you live. How's it going? Good, actually. It's going good. Works good. Yeah, I mean, family's great. Kids are doing good. Wife's doing good. Everything's pretty solid right now. Actually, thank you for asking. By the way, Manuel Fernandez says, "How was the T-1000 able to travel through time with machine, even though he was not covered in organic skin?" This is a question that has been asked and never officially answered in canon for, over 30 years. Because, yeah, that was the whole thing. That was the point, is that the machine could only send living tissue through time, which is why the original T-800s could go through time, because they were covered in living tissue. So, I mean, if you kind of noodle the problem out, right? Like, so the idea isn't that the machine can only send living tissue through time, because it does send the Terminator's endoskeleton and all their working bits. It's just that whatever gets sent through time has to be surrounded by living tissue, because maybe living tissue like it never really says like what would happen if you tried to send non-living material through time. Will it just not send the non-living material, or will it destroy the non-living material? It makes more sense if it just would like destroy non-living material, because that's why the T-800s covered in real skin, it protects the endoskeleton, right? Because if it just wouldn't send it through time, then that means it would just show up back in time as a skin sack, and the endoskeleton wouldn't make it through. So it can send non-living material through time. It just can't. It just has to be protected in some way by some sort of living material. Now, that still doesn't explain how the T-1000 can go back in time, because it's not like, well, I guess it depends. Like, I guess this is just a huge plot hole in the movies, honestly, is what this is. Because it's just something that was put into the first movie that then I think James Cameron like realized would cause him a lot of problems. So he tried to just like not address it in the second movie, I think, is honestly what happened. But if you try and figure it out, maybe like, I don't know, maybe when the T-1000 like transforms into a human, right? Like it's the equivalent of synthetic flesh, and maybe that's good enough to protect the rest of him. I don't know. I honestly don't know, because I don't think it's ever really been answered in any of the movies or any lore or anything like that, at least that I'm aware of. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe when the T-1000 simulates being human, it actually is good enough that it, protects in the time vortex or whatever the fuck it is that would affect non-living material. I don't fucking know, because it's never addressed. So I honestly have no clue. But that's a really good question. I don't know. Dwayne says, did you get a damn P.O. box yet? Not yet. Do you know how expensive P.O. boxes were? They're way more expensive here than they were in Texas. I used to pay like $80 a year for a P.O. box, and for the same size P.O. box here would be like $256 a year. So I haven't gotten a P.O. box yet. I know I need to. I'm aware that I'm slacking. Let's see. Lele says, kind of hard to hear over the music. Well, damn it. I asked y'all to tell me if it was too loud. All right, I just turned it down. Dino says, but what if the machines have a better time machine even further from the future? Maybe, except I do think it is canon that all the Terminators were all sent at the same time to just different points in time. Like the T-800 from the first movie and the T-1000 from the second movie, and then the T-800 from the second movie and the T-1000 and T-800 from the third movie were all sent at the same time to different points in time to try and accomplish 3 different goals. That's been established. So they were all like sent like Kyle Reese and the T-800 from the first movie were sent roughly at the same. Well, so there's 2 different times, right? Like, so what happened, because you got to remember the time machine that Skynet created, they only used it once before the Resistance came in and took it over. Because there was only one time machine. It's not like the Resistance had their own time machine. They took the one that Skynet was using. So when John Connor sent Kyle Reese back to 1984, he also sent a converted T-800 back to 1992, and he also sent another T-800 back to whatever it was, 2003 or whatever. So he sent all 3 of them back at the same time to different points in time. Skynet did the same thing. They sent a T-800 to 1984. They sent a T-1000 to 1992 and a T-1000 to 2003. All at the same time. Let's see. Lele says the coolest T-1000 scene was in Terminator Genesis, where they destroyed it with acid. That was a cool scene. There, you know, Terminator Genesis is arguably not a good Terminator movie. It's not a good Terminator movie. However, I do think it's an entertaining sci-fi movie, and it has some cool scenes, and it's got some cool concepts. I just don't like it as a Terminator movie because it muddles up all the canon and all the history and everything like way too bad. Like, it just fucks a lot of shit up. So I don't think it's a good Terminator movie. I do think it's a decent sci-fi. Like, I like the movie. I just don't like it as, because it just messes the first 3 movies up. Dino says, why don't you and Duke just share a P.O. box? That's actually not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. I'll ask him about that. Old Man Butler says, when you lean back, you look like a disembodied head floating in a matrix of toys. Well, yeah, especially with like a black shirt against the black chair. Probably. Mr. Scary says, so you'll answer that question when Dwayne asks it. What the P.O. box question? Did you ask that question too? I don't fucking know. I thought I'm catching all the comments. I don't know. If you asked that question, I'm sorry I didn't see it. That's my bad. That's my bad. Damn it. Let's see, let's see, I need to wipe this gun down, actually. So let me see if I can do it without catching it on screen and getting the chat shut down. I think I can. I need to wipe the stock down because I sprayed it with oil, the barrel and everything, and I spilled it on the stock, which actually isn't a big deal because I just refinished the stock. I wonder if I can get away with showing you guys the stock, like, or at least part of it, the part that doesn't have gunmetal on it. I bet you I can. Stock came out really nice. I did a nice walnut finish on it, and then true oiled it. Gave it about 4 coats of true oil. Let's see. It's probably not going to come across. I don't have good lighting in here, but the stock. I didn't do a complete like candy coat. Like I've done like more, like if you keep doing true oil and doing more and more coats of true oil, it comes out like mirror finish. Like you can see yourself in it, because I've done that before and it looks really cool. But I didn't want to do that to this one because this isn't mine. I'm doing it for somebody else. So I just wanted to give them a nice finish, you know. So it's 4 coats of true oil, and it came out really well. And then the bluing, I redid the bluing. This is an old gun. This is from this is an old Winchester 22. Then I redid the bluing. It came out really nice. I'm very happy with the results of that. I did that last weekend. I did the before on it. I got to do the after, but I got to finish my setup because I did a real quick before on that gun, so you could kind of see, but I had real shitty lighting, and I didn't have a bench set up yet. And then I started, because I needed to get working on the gun. So I was like, fuck, I don't have time to set up my bench and everything where I wanted to get it set up with the lights and everything. So I just shot the video with shitty lighting, and so hopefully you can see the surface rust that it had and the dinged up stock and all that stuff. But now I've got the bench set up. I've got some of the lighting set up for the bench. I need to finish it so that I can, because I got to do that, because I got to give that gun back on Monday. So at some point this weekend, I've got to do the second half of the video for that, for the before and after, or the refinish. And also I've got videos going live. I got a video going live tomorrow. I've shot 4 videos in the last week that I think I'm gonna start posting a video a week. So I've got 4 videos that I've already made. I am doing my best, and I know I've talked about this a lot for like a year, but I'm doing my best to try and start making videos for this channel again. And I've already made 4 videos. I'm going to start posting 1 a week, probably on Saturdays. I think Saturday is going to be the day I post new videos. So Saturday around midday, I'll be posting. So I've got it scheduled. I got the first video scheduled to go live tomorrow at like noon or something, I think is when it's going to go live, at noon. And I think I'm going to start posting just 1 video a week. You know, I mean, occasionally maybe I'll post more, but for now I'm just going to try and stick to 1 video a week, because that's very achievable to do. And try to start getting videos on the channel again. And some are going to be prepping and some are going to be guns. I'm probably not, I'm going to be honest, I mean, I say that now, but who knows what'll happen in the future. But as of right now, I don't really plan to do any political videos. I prefer doing the politics stuff on the live chats. I just enjoy it more, to be able to talk about politics in more of a back and forth setting with you guys, or with other people on the show, or whatever it may be. So for now, I don't really plan on doing political videos, just gun and prepping video types of stuff. So, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna shoot for 1 video a week. I'll have it go live on Saturdays. So, and the first video that I will have had go live on this channel in like a year and a half will be tomorrow. So, for those that kept asking, when are you going to do videos again? I'm starting to get back into it. So, let's see. Where are we at? David Jones says, M1A or AR-10 for your one and only battle rifle. Now, by one and only battle rifle, let me ask you, and then I need you, Davy Jones, to clarify. Do you mean one and only battle rifle as in, I've got all my other guns, but I can only have like one quote unquote, as military term for battle rifle, i.e., a semi-automatic or full automatic, full rifle calibered gun. I can only have one of those, but I've still got like AR-15s and AKs, and I've got all my other shit too, but those aren't battle rifles. Got into that fucking conversation too many goddamn times on YouTube, trust me. But like, yeah, if you're describing a battle rifle as a semi-automatic or potentially full automatic, full rifle calibered long gun, are you saying I can still have my other collection, but I can only have one of those guns in my collection? In which case it would be the M1A. If, however, you are saying it shit hit the fan and I can only have one gun, like, to carry on me in the apocalypse, and that is my gun, and it is going to be a battle rifle, and it can be an M1A or an AR-10, I would probably go AR-10. AR-10, I think, makes more sense if that's going to be like your one and only gun. I don't like it as much. Like, I'd rather have an M1A in my collection. However, if I could only have one, it's kind of the same way as it's like, oh, well, if you could only have one pistol, what would it be? Well, I love Berettas. I love SIGs. However, if I could only have one handgun, it would probably be a Glock, which is the boring answer, but the Glock makes more sense in a, like, you only have one gun and what happens if shit hits the fan kind of scenario. I don't like it as much as Berettas and SIGs. However, it makes more sense if that's going to be your only handgun. Same thing with the AR-10. I don't like it as much as I like the M1A. And if I could only have one battle rifle, but I've still got the rest of my collection of ARs and AKs and all that shit, I would absolutely pick an M1A. But if it's my only gun, I'm picking the AR-10. Let's see. David Jones says 308 caliber semi-auto, one to keep and have realistically. So for my collection, it would be the M1A. I would much rather have an M1A in my collection than an AR-10. AR-10s to me are just kind of a dime a dozen and boring. They're not as much a dime a dozen as AR-15s, obviously, but you know, they're kind of boring. It's just a 308 version of an AR-15. There's nothing really, in my opinion, particularly unique or special about them. But the fact that it is an AR-10 means that I'm gonna find magazines easier. It is a more, again, if it's my only gun, right? Like, it's a more quote unquote SHTF friendly gun as far as disassembling and cleaning and potentially finding parts. It's a very reliable gun, but it's not the gun I like better between the two. I would much rather have an M1A in my collection. But for shit hit the fan, I'd go with AR-10. Let's see. Deus Ex says, what Glock would you give up to save the discontinuation of the Glock 19? Can't be a Gap 45. What Glock would I give up? Fuck, dude, there's half the Glock. Dude, okay. I could give a rat's ass about probably 3/4 of the Glocks that exist, because it's just a variation of this. I mean, there are 3 Glocks that matter, and that is your full size, your compact, and your subcompact brain part. And in my opinion, in my opinion, when it comes to Glock, the only caliber that really matters is 9mm. It is the best, most optimal caliber that you can have a Glock in. I don't give a shit about 40. I do love my Glock 21 and I love 45 as a caliber, but if I had to sacrifice that to keep the Glock 19, I certainly would. Same thing with anything in 10mm. Same thing with all the, various one-off versions of other 9mm, 40 and 45 Glocks that exist, like your 34s, your long slides, your Glock 19Xs, where you've got the 17 round grip on a 19, slide, and like all those random ones, dude. I mean, in my opinion, the three most important Glocks that exist that I would sacrifice pretty much any other Glock to save are the 17, the 19, and the 26. The second most important Glock after those three, I would say, is the Glock 21. Then after that, I would say it's the 22, the 23, and the 27. After that, I would say it's the 20 in 10mm. And then after that, I could give a shit about any other Glocks. To be completely honest, those 8 Glocks, the 17, the 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 26, and 27, I think are the only Glocks that matter. And then in general, like if I got to narrow it down even more, like I said, it's the 17, the 19, and the 26. So take those 8 Glocks off the table and every other Glock can go fuck itself. I don't care about any of them. I don't care about all the new ones that have come out. I don't care about the 45 gap ones. I don't care about the various versions of the standard 45 ACP and 10mm, like the smaller compact ones. Those can go fuck themselves. If I'm carrying a 10mm or 45, give me a fucking full size, because I want as much capacity as possible if I'm going to carry those guns. So yeah, outside those 8 right there, I would say the first 8 models, but technically there was a Glock 25 in 380 that we never got here. But out of the first, it's the first 8 models of Glock that we got here in the United States are the only ones that matter. So yeah. Those are the only ones I care about. Dwayne says 17, 27, 21, 34, all gone too. I haven't heard anything about this. What are we talking about here? Because I know Glock was getting rid of their Gen 4s. They're saying they're going to discontinue the Gen 4, like across the board, which I get. Gen 4 was not very popular. And I think they're discontinuing certain models in the Gen 3 that don't sell well. I'll tell you right now, I do not believe for a goddamn minute they're going to get rid of the 17, the 27, or the 21. Those are 3 of their most popular fucking guns. Now, maybe they're going to get rid of the 17, the 27, and the 21 in Gen 3, because they're still going to be making some Gen 3 guns. And the reason they're going to make Gen 3 guns is, 1, it's still the most popular Gen Glock. 2, it's also the Gen Glock that can still be sold in certain states and things like that, like California and others. Whereas like maybe Gen 5s and Gen 4s and things like that aren't on certain rosters. That's why. So maybe they're like, yeah, we're not going to make the 17, 27, 21, and 34 in the Gen 3 anymore. Which I think sucks, but I would understand. And then if you want a 17, you got to fucking Get a Gen 5. I like Gen 3 better, but, you know, I understand why they would do it. But you're not going to convince me that they're just not going to make the 17 and the 27 anymore. Especially those two. They're not going to make the go-to subcompact 40 caliber anymore. They're not going to make the number one selling full-size 9mm anymore. No, they are still going to fucking make that gun. I'm sorry. Yes, they are going to make that gun. They're not discontinuing it. Like I said, they may be, because they're discontinuing everything Gen 4. They're discontinuing the entire Gen 4 line. And I understand that it was not a popular line. It's why they moved so quickly to the Gen 5. That I understand. And then maybe there will be some models that they just aren't going to make for Gen 3 anymore. Again, I get that. You cannot convince me they're going to fucking stop making 17s. There's not going to make any more Glock 17s. I mean, the only way I could see them doing that is if they're going to replace it with another full-size 9mm model, which doesn't make sense because you'd just be making the same fucking gun again under a different model number. But yeah, like I said, I know they were discontinuing every Gen 4 model, which is, you know, how many models did they have for Gen 4? 20 something models that they had for Gen 4 that are all getting discontinued. And then I think there was probably going to be some Gen 3 models getting discontinued. I don't think they're discontinuing any Gen 5 models. So they'd be fucking retarded to dump the Glock 17 and the 27 and the 21. The 34, I get why they would discontinue it. But again, you're talking about, first of all, they're discontinuing every Gen 4, period. And probably half the Gen 3s that they make. Which I get why they would discontinue a lot of Gen 3s. Like, the only reason they were still making Gen 3s, honestly, it came down to it was still selling because it was popular and because there were places where Gen 4s and Gen 5s weren't allowed to be sold. So it makes sense why they would still sell Gen 3s, but I also understand why they would sell far less Gen 3s. I don't know why the fuck they would get rid of the 17 and the 27. I mean, the 17 is, I mean, after the, the 17 is probably their third best selling handgun. Because I would say the 19 is their number one. The 23 is probably their number 2 selling handgun. Could be the 22. I don't know, because you got to include a lot of law enforcement use there. So it's either going to be the 22 or the 23. Would probably be the number 2 selling handgun because of law enforcement. But the Glock 17 is at the very least their number 3 selling handgun. So, all right, let me get back to these comments here. Ledley says, would you rather have a Glock 18 or a full auto 1911 with a 20-round mag? A Glock 18. Yeah, Glock 18. Of course. Slap those 32 rounders in there, or 33 rounders. ASX says, you're going to be gone by the time Pantera comes to play in September, aren't you? Going to be gone from where? You talking about Texas? Dude, I'm already in Michigan. Let's see. All right, so I'm looking at on Glock's website the list of discontinued models. So let's see. Ooh. Glock 17, they're only discontinuing the Gen 4. Now the N17 MOS, they're discontinuing the Gen 4 and the Gen 5. 17L, they're discontinuing the Gen 3. 17L MOS, Gen 5. 19, the 19 and the 19 MOS, only discontinuing Gen 4. Glock 21, the Glock 20 and 21, they're only discontinuing the Gen 3 and Gen 4. So Gen 5, so Gen 5 still going to be, the 17 Gen 5 will still be available, but not the MOS. The 17L will still be available in Gen 5. Now the 17 MOS, the 17L MOS won't be. Like I said, 19 and 19 MOS, they're only discontinuing Gen 4. 20 and 21, they're discontinuing 3 and 4, but those 5 will still be around. 21 SF is gone. It should have never been made in the first place. It wasn't a good gun. Now, it does say they're discontinuing the 22 in 3, 4, and 5. So that means they're getting rid of the 22 altogether. 22 MOS, Gen 5. 23. Oh, dude, they're getting rid of their 40s. That's what they're doing. They're getting rid of their fucking 40s. Because they're 22, they're 23, and they're 27. They're getting rid of 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, they're moving. Yeah. They're dumping their 40s. Holy shit. I mean, I knew law enforcement's already been moving towards 9, which I agree with, by the way. But are they moving to 9 in such great numbers that they're going to discontinue their 3 main models of 40? That's crazy, dude. I mean, like I said, the 9mm is the better option, but still, that seems crazy. Yeah, they're discontinuing the 22, the 3, 4, and 5, the 22 the MOS, the Gen 5, the 23, they're discontinuing the 4 and 5, which means the Gen 3 23s will still be out, will still be made. 23 MOS, they're just getting rid of the Gen 5. 26, they're just getting rid of the Gen 4. So you'll still be able to get the 3s and the 5s. 27 and 29, they're getting rid of 3, 4, and 5. 29 SF, they're getting rid of, oh, look who decided to show up.
No, man, they're all going to be gone. Gen 3's already been discontinued.
Well, I'm looking at Glock's website.
Gen 3 is still on there?
Well, it's not saying what's on there. It's saying what they're discontinuing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Gen 3's already been discontinued.
For all models? I thought they were still making some of them.
No.
Stop? Okay.
Yeah, and so they're gone, man. That's yeah. That's I'm surprised at what's on the list. That's crazy.
Well, because I'm looking here, like I said, because people in the chat were saying they're getting rid of the 17. I'm like, that would be.
No, they're not. Well, okay, I've heard that.
They're getting rid of the Gen 4. I'm looking, they're getting rid of the Gen 4 17. Here, I'll pull it up for the chat here. Hold on, so everybody can see this list. This is straight from Glock's website.
Yeah, Gen 4. A lot of Gen 4, like everything Gen 4 is going away.
Oh yeah, they said they're getting rid of Gen 4. That's not news, and they should have done that a long time ago.
The 17 is not going to go away ever.
No.
It'll be the Gen 5 17, which I don't like.
Oh, ENT dropped in super chat. Yo, Matt, Honda was on a few nights ago with you, and he's actually kind of cool. Yes, he was. Yeah, he was on. Thank you for that super chat, sir. Let me get this pulled up for everybody here real quick. Okay, so Here's what they're showing as their discontinued under their streamlining our portfolio for a stronger future. They just posted this. So they're getting rid of the Gen 4 17s, not the Gen 5s. Gen 4 and 5 17 MOS, classic Gen 3 17L. I'm guessing they were still making that one. 17L MOS, they're getting rid of the Gen 5. 19, they're getting rid of the Gen 4. They're basically getting rid of all Gen 4s. That makes sense. I get it. The Gen 4 sucks. I know you don't agree, but they do.
I like Gen 4. Why are you hating on Gen 4?
I've never liked Gen 4. Dude, did you never think there was a reason why it took less than 5 years from them to go from Gen 4 to Gen 5?
No,
It took like 20 years to get from. It took like 20 years to go from 3 to 4.
No, it goes like every 7 to 8 years.
No, dude, the 4s dropped in like 2009. 2009, 2010 is when the 4s started showing up in retail, and Gen 5 came out in what, 2016?
Let me look it up.
So anyway, 19s, they're dropping all the Gen 3s and Gen 4s. They're dropping the 21 SF, which again, they should. That gun never should have been made. 22s, they're getting rid of all their 22s. All Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, and their MOS 22s are all gone.
Okay, Gen 1, 82 to 87. Gen 2, 88 to 97. Gen 3, 98 to 2009. Gen 4, 2010 to 2016. Gen 5, 2017. That's like every 7 to 10 years. Consistent.
Yeah, except Gen 3s were available as far back as like 94. Like 3 years longer than that. And Gen 3s stayed being actively manufactured the entire time the Gen 4s were out. And were outselling the Gen 4s, which is why they went to Gen 5 so quickly. Because people had tons of complaints about the Gen 4s. With recoil springs and the grip and all kinds of shit, which is why they made the changes they did to the Gen 5. Gen 4 is their least successful generation. It is the generation that the least amount of people liked, which is why they moved to the 5 so quickly. They were designing the 5 within 2 years of the Gen 4 going to market. I'm just saying, it's my least favorite generation. I understand. I think in general, it's everybody's least favorite gen pistol, which is why I understand why they're discontinuing it.
That is baloney.
So all the generation fucking 22s and 23s are gone. G26, they're just getting rid of the Gen 4. G27 and 29, they're getting rid of every generation. 29 SF, their SFs are stupid. All their 30s, their 31s through 34s, they're just getting rid of Gen 3 and 4. 34 MOS, they're getting rid of 4 and 5. 35s are Gen 3 and 4. 35 MOS, Gen 4. They're getting rid of the Glock 36. The 36 FGR, which I don't even know what the fuck that is. 37, Gen 3 and 4. They're getting rid of the 38, the 39. Glock 40 MOS Gen 4 is gone. 41 Gen 4 is gone. 41 MOS is gone. And Glock 49 is gone. So that is the official list from Glock. So there you go. That's the official list of the guns they're getting rid of. Which is, I don't know, 20-something guns.
Yeah.
Which again, I find it hard to believe they're getting rid of all those 40s. Although I get it. I mean, you and me agree that people should be moving to 9mm anyway.
Yeah.
40. So I guess I understand. The only reason I can think of, because there's got to still be enough being sold in the civilian market that if that's where they were getting their sales from, they would stick with it. It's got to be because all these law enforcement agencies are moving back to 9.
It has to be. And it has to be that I think that although there is a large community that likes 40, the sales don't reflect that. So why would you stick around?
Yeah. So, but yes, so from everything, yes, you'll still be able to get a Glock 17 and a 19 and a 26. They would be absolutely fucking retarded to get rid of those, especially since those are the guns that they sell actively to law enforcement now. So, I don't know. People in the chat were saying they announced they were getting rid of the Glock 17.
They're not.
And I'm like, no. I said maybe the Gen 4, and now looking at this list, yes, they're getting rid of the Gen 4 Glock 17. That makes sense. I get it. Well, I mean, why keep the Glock 17 Gen 4 when you're selling way more Gen 5s? You know?
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense. You're selling way more Gen 5. They're probably hardly selling any Gen 4 Glocks in the 17. And especially since it's really only been, what, the last 2 years, maybe 3, that law enforcement agencies have started moving back to 9. They're not going to move back to 9 and say, let me buy a bunch of fucking Gen 4s, because the 5s are already out.
Exactly.
Well, all these law enforcement agencies for the last 2 or 3 years are buying Gen 5s, and that's where the most of their sales are. So, yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense to get rid of the Gen 4s. Like I said, it's been their least popular gen. So, I'm sorry, Duke, but it is.
According to you, and you're wrong.
It is. It's legitimately their least. It is their lowest selling generation of pistols. Like, that's not even my opinion. I agree, because I understand. I don't like that generation of pistols.
Whatever.
Well, I understand. Well, I do understand why it's their lowest selling generation of pistols, but I'm not the one saying it's their lowest selling generation of pistols. Their sales numbers said that.
You're just jealous because Gen 4 is really cool.
No. You've seen my Gen 3. I have no reason to be jealous.
Whatever.
I love my fucking Gen 3. That fucking pistol's perfect. My Gen 3 17 is fucking perfect. So is my Gen 3 fucking 26. So is my Gen 2 21. My Gen 2 21 is fucking awesome. I love that gun. So, but yeah, there's your official list from Glock's website.
I like it. I get it.
And like I said, there's none of these. Like, I understand every one of these. And they had so many fucking models, dude. So many fucking models. I understand why they would want to streamline their shit. Old Man Buttwork is in the chat, says the Ruger Security 9 is better than Gen 4 Glocks.
What? Wow, that's real lame.
But no, I get it. It makes sense. Look, let me be clear. I'm not saying the Gen 4s are bad. Okay? They were still Glocks. They were still solid guns. However, the 3s and the 5s are better. And they did have issues when that gun came out. They did have issues. There was I don't remember how far it was in. I mean, basically, it was like a Gen 4.5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At some point where they redid a bunch of stuff because they had problems with it. They had problems when they first released it to market for the first year or two, and they had to like redo some stuff on those guns. So it was a lesser liked Glock. So David Jones says Duke is senior Gen 3. Is that what they call it these days?
Wow.
Anthony Roberts says Keltec is better than Gen 4. Oh, fuck.
Oh my gosh, these guys are just doing it to bug me. Not even close to being the truth.
No, even that's not true. That's not true. Come on. No, I mean, I'd still buy a Gen 4, like, for a good price, like a police trade-in or something like that. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I would never have bought one new for full price. Because, especially not when, like, if you're going to buy something new, like, fuck, dude, Gen 3s were still available, Gen 5s are available. If I'm going to pay new prices for one, I'm going to buy one of those before I buy a Gen 4. However, if you're paying cheap, like, trade-in prices for something, like police trade-ins, I'd buy a Gen 4. I wouldn't have a problem with it. As long as it wasn't one of those early ones that had fucking recoil spring problems and shit, then I'd be like, fuck. Although, you got to believe if it's a law enforcement trade-in, it's not one of those. So, that shouldn't be an issue if you're ever going to buy any of those. But, anyway. Let's see, what else do we have in the chat? Mr. Scary says Glock's 19 Gen 3 is still in production. Are they still in production? Well, I mean, the 19 is the most popular Glock pistol, period. So it would not surprise me if no other Gen 3s were being made, if they were still making the Gen 3 19, that would not surprise me. And like I said, I mean, there's some of those guns are like, in California and some other places, those are the only options for Glock because those are the ones that are on the rosters. So I feel like they do still make some Gen 3s because I still see new Gen 3s. Maybe they just make a couple models or something. I don't know. Let's see. Randy Butternut says, I'm rocking my Glock 17 Gen 5 all day, every day. DSX says, oh, fuck, I didn't realize you already moved. How do you like it? I love it, dude. It was like 54 degrees all day today. It was glorious. It was fucking glorious, man. I'd be sweating balls if I was still in Texas. Randy Butternut says, so I should hold on to my G20 Gen 4 until prices go up and sell it for more than it's worth? Maybe. If you find somebody who... Like, the issue with that, though, because of what we're talking about here, like, you're never going to be able to sell your Gen 4 G20 for more than a Gen 5. Like, the price is never going to go up that much. Because if somebody has the option to buy a brand new Gen 5 Glock 20, why would they pay more money for your Gen 4? Glock is not, other than like Gen 1s that have collector's value, Glocks are not guns that go up in value.
No.
Because there's just so many of them, and there's so many generations that are always being made, and the newest one is always available. Glocks don't particularly hold their value like that. They don't really become collectibles. The only ones I know of that are collectibles are, like I said, the original Gen 1. That's it. So I don't think your Glock 20 Gen 4 is necessarily going to be like all of a sudden worth a bunch of money. It'll never be worth, like, nobody's ever going to pick that over just buying a new one, if you know what I mean. So, I mean, unless you're selling it for cheaper than a new one costs, which kind of defeats the purpose. Although you have a Glock 20, so why would you want to get rid of it in the first fucking place? That's a cool gun. Let's see. What is this? What are you showing me here, Lead Lace? Oh, Lead Lace has a video here. Let's see what it is. I got to check it here first. Okay. Gotta make sure it's something I can actually show. Let's see what we've got here.
In Nashville, Tennessee, that's the skyline over there. I'm gonna see if I can film this. It keeps showing up outside. Look at that.
Uh-oh, UFOs, dude.
Look at that.
No.
I'm gonna try to zoom in on this. Oh my gosh, do you see that? What the?
Nope.
Bro.
Nope.
I've seen it all over TikTok now. I'm literally seeing them in person. This is right next to Nashville, Tennessee. Right in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
What are you doing if that happens, like, over Flint?
Nope, leaving and getting a gun. Getting the gun.
Oh shit! You didn't even see it, you motherfucker.
That's the skyline
That
over
one.
there. I'm gonna see if I can
That's what
film
I'm
this. It
talking
keeps
about.
showing up outside.
You weren't even looking.
Look at that.
You were lying to me.
Look at that.
I wasn't
Try
even
to zoom
sharing
in
the
on this.
screen.
Oh
Dark
my
skyline.
gosh,
Nope. Look at that flying. Nope. I'm good with that. Back and forth. Look at that. He was like doing a basketball move.
I've seen it all over TikTok now. I've literally seen him in person. This is right next to Nashville, Tennessee. Right in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nope. I don't need that in my life. That's terrifying. Looks like ET's ship now.
Yep.
Nope. Nope. I don't want nothing to do with any of that.
One of these days, I'm gonna get you with that fucking alien mask. It's gonna happen. I don't know when. I haven't decided when yet.
Nice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is about that time to wind up for the day. I have work at the ass crack of dawn. Actually, before the ass crack of dawn. So we're going to get the fuck out of here. We will see you guys next time. Like I was telling everybody on the chat, I will have a video going live tomorrow noonish, I think is when I scheduled it for. I don't remember. Sometime midday. So we'll do that, and then we will see everybody next week. Everybody have a great weekend. Take it easy, guys. Deuces, yo. Shall not pee in fridge. All that good stuff. And we'll see you guys later.